Have you heard about Global Poker? Global Poker is the fastest growing card room in the US today, and it's available online at globalpoker.com. Global Poker is a social poker site that offers safe and secure cash out options by using their unique and patented sweepstakes model. Players can compete in big guaranteed tournaments, jackpot sit and goes, or cash games featuring Hold'em, Omaha, and even Crazy Pineapple. Don't wait. Check out Global Poker today.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales both on and off the feld.
Hello and welcome to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the Poker Authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 92, and this time we are going international, making our first trip to the country of Belgium to speak with poker pro Kenny Hallaert. Now, Kenny is recently coming off of a nice run online where he won his third Scoop title. He now has more than 6.5 million in online earnings, playing under the name SpaceyFCB. And that's in addition to another 4.2 million won live. Kenny has 4 WSOP final tables on his poker resume, along with 4 deep runs in the main event, including a 6th place finish in 2016 for almost $1.5 million. But playing poker isn't everything to Kenny. When he's not competing himself, he actually works as a tournament director and has run events for PokerStars and the EPT, as well as Unibet. Anyway, that's enough intro. Here's my conversation with Kenny Hallaert. I am here with Kenny Hallaert. Did I do that right?
That's fairly good, I would say, Julio.
We just practiced it for a few minutes before we started recording, and I still messed it up. But I'm here with a recent Scoop winner, someone who's, have you been enjoying the downtime, the online poker second coming, the boom?
Yeah, that's kind of a short poker boom. It was indeed for the last couple of months. It has already dwindled down a fair amount, though.
Right.
Some of the major sites have extended their tournament series that they had in May because the World Series getting postponed, of course, as well. But even from my experience from this week, it's already quite calmer on the online streets. I mean, which is quite normal. A lot of countries are loosening up their lockdown rules a little bit. It's good weather in Europe.
Some of the fish maybe realize, right? Some of the fish might realize they're not gonna last long in the game.
Yeah, for sure as well. Like some people that are recreational, they had a couple of weeks of fun as well, and then they spent some money that they were willing to spend, and then they don't want to spend more money, of course, as well. Like some people, didn't have any income maybe as well for the last time. So I think it's a natural thing that's happening, and people are just getting tired of it. Even I, after a bit after 2.5 months of very intense poker playing, I'm ready for some downtime as well, because it has been a serious grind so far. So yeah, I was actually thinking of even after next week taking a whole week off, maybe just to recharge the batteries a little bit even.
Well, let's go back to the beginning, to Belgium. Is it Gent, where you grew up?
I grew up in a small town next to Ghent. I was born in Ghent, but I never lived in Ghent in my life. But I lived to a town pretty close to Ghent.
Did you? So for
15.
We don't have a huge Belgian audience on this podcast, but for those who don't know, the country is basically, it's a lot like Saint Martin, right? There's a Dutch side and a French side.
And it's the first time somebody's making a comparison with Saint Martin. I never thought about this, but
I don't think the tropics climate is the same, but
yeah, but Belgium is a very tiny country. It's probably as it might be even smaller than the smallest state in the U.S. even like
Let's see here. 11.5 million people,
yeah, it's
according to
quite dense
Wikipedia.
though. That's have to say, but
That's like North Carolina.
yeah, it's I mean it's quite yeah. If you look on a map, it is quite small Belgium, but still yet we managed to divide the country in still in another two parts. If I look at Belgium indeed quickly on a map here, like it seems to be like maybe like it's as big as Connecticut, Massachusetts, or
Hmm.
something. Like yeah, maybe as big as I mean maybe as big as South Carolina indeed or something. Like.
Oh, I just meant
So, yeah,
population-wise.
yeah, oh, yeah, population-wise, yeah,
Yeah.
it is still, but yeah, still we still managed to divide the country in two and have
So
through
did you
even
grow up
the
speaking
official
Dutch or French?
languages. Dutch. Dutch is my native language. I do speak a good amount of French, but still my English is better than my French. Like if I would, yeah, like I think my, yeah, like I would say my English is fairly good, and my French is like okay to good in somewhat in some.
So what were you getting into as a kid? I know you love soccer.
Yes, soccer is that was my main hobby for a long time until I discovered poker. I just had a worked as an electrician before actually. Like I didn't do yeah, I didn't have any nothing spectacular. That worked for well 8 9 years I think roughly as an electrician.
So that you went to straight you became an electrician straight out of high school?
Uh, well, after high school, I actually went to college for further education in electricity. However, I never finished college, and then after 1.5 years, I dropped out of college and started working as an electrician. And it's during that time that I discovered poker online and I got offered a job in a local casino in Belgium to do the market in the actually in the French speaking part of the casino. Sorry,
Mm.
I got offered a job in the French. Yeah, let me rephrase. I got offered a job in the French part in a casino in the French part of Belgium to do the marketing for their poker room for the non-French speaking market. So mainly, of course, for the Flemish market. That was
Got it.
back
Your
in
job was to attract people from the other side.
basically yes, and that was in. I started working there the 1st of February 2008.
All right,
So
we're going too fast because
okay,
I
okay,
want to
yeah.
get to how you discovered poker in the first place. Because you're out there working as an electrician. Does somebody invite you to a home game or someone put some money online? How does it work?
It was online that I discovered it. I was always a little bit into card games. I never always liked card games. My mom used to be a bartender, and sometimes card games were played there. Like not any poker related variants, however. But card games were always something that interested me, and sports was also, like I said, something that interested me. And I would always put, not always, but on a regular basis, a couple of times per month, I would just put like $10 on my favorite football team,
Mm-hmm.
well, soccer team that is,
FCB.
FCB indeed, FC Bruges. Like a couple of times per month, like I said, we just put some like low amounts of money on there on an online sports book, and it was somewhere in 2004 that I also saw a link to like poker. Like they had a banner up saying poker. Like and like sounds interesting. And yeah, I quickly read the rules, downloaded the software. Already had some money in my account anyway. Like a couple of bucks, spent a couple of bucks, and probably after 5 minutes, my money was gone. But I discovered something I liked, which was poker. And yeah, I played it online on a more and more regular basis. Like really micro stakes, just to have some fun. Played a bit of. In the beginning, it was just No Limit Hold'em, but afterwards I discovered Omaha, which of course was way more fun because you get four cards instead of two, and yeah,
Of
it's easier
course.
to make a straight and a flush and a full house. So I lost my money probably even faster, but at least I had more fun because I could make more more hands. So yeah, it was quite yeah, I was quite quickly attached to the game, I would say, and it was on the micro gaming network, which I think doesn't even exist anymore. It was the website I was playing on was Mr. Bookmaker, which turned into yeah they got it was Unibet I think about a decade ago already or even longer that bought up that company. But it was on that website. They also had like a couple of free rolls every day. It was like $1,000 free rolls, where there was 5,000 people at least playing every day.
Wow.
Uh, so yeah, it's literally like the value of your buying is like a couple of couple of cents. It wasn't worth too much, but of course, yeah, it was a free roll. And once I think I managed to get in second in one of those, or like even like a win in one of those free rolls, thinking immediately I was like the best player on in the world. And it was actually in the chat box on one of these free rolls that a fellow countryman, I think actually it was a Dutch guy, that we got into talking to each other via the chat on the table. He said, "Have you like looked into this website, which was pokerinfo.nl? Like, it's the site itself doesn't exist anymore, but it was like a forum, like where people would come together, they would share strategy, they would share their bad beats, they would like just a good old poker forum." And I checked out the website, and actually I discovered that there was strategy in the game. Like, I didn't even realize that people actually could. That there was
You're
strategy
playing it for
involved.
luck.
I thought it was pure luck still, of course, at that time. Like, okay, that's interesting. And of course, like if I'm talking 2004 to late 2004, early 2005. So there wasn't any much strategy to be found online. Like video instruction sites, they of course like didn't exist, or like poker solvers and stuff like that. Was nobody had ever heard of these things, or like GTO and like that's those were the terms that were used at the time. I think.
Well, not only that, but Belgium didn't have a poker presence, really, right? I mean, who was the
No.
first Belgian poker star? Davidi? You know?
Yeah, I think Davidi was one of the first guys that did breakthrough internationally. I guess say Davidi
And
is
he was
also
in
a player.
2007, 2006 time, you know? So, yeah, you didn't really have a blueprint for
No,
poker.
we didn't. There wasn't. That's why I also found my way on a Dutch website, because like in Belgium there wasn't too much. There was one website, pokerclub.be, which I think actually also doesn't exist anymore, which was also like a small community. But yeah, there wasn't not many people were interested in poker at the time. In Holland, there was a little bit more people that were playing it, so there was a little bit more action or like information to be
Oh,
found there.
yeah.
But like I said, like there was
They had
online in
Marcel.
general. Yeah, they had Marcel indeed, and they had the Master Classics of Poker already, who existed from back in the 80s even. I think apart from the Irish Open, I think the Master Classics might be the oldest tournament series in Europe. And there was 2+2 already at the time. So I also started to browsing a little bit on 2+2, and that's where I got suggested, I think, to read poker books, because that's where you could find the most of your like information. And went on to Amazon, bought a couple of books, including Winning Low Limit Hold'em from Lee Jones, uh,
I
Theory
remember
of
that book.
Theory of Poker from David Sklansky.
Hmm.
And then I decided to start reading those two specific books. Like I think I also bought Harrington Hold'em, I bought Super System, but specifically Theory of Poker and Winning Low Limit Hold'em. Those were like two books that I read from A to Z. Learned a lot from those books, especially I think from Theory of Poker, would still be today like some sort of a useful book, like to like understand the basics of poker.
Oh, I think it's a great beginner book, just to
Yeah,
get people thinking a certain way.
yeah, definitely indeed. Winning Low Limit Hold'em, I would think now is a little bit of a book that's it's a little bit outdated now probably. But I started doing that, and then I decided in somewhere in March 2005. So I think in February and in January, I decided to like not deposit any money in online, and say like I just want to study a couple of weeks, months on poker. And then somewhere in March 2005, I deposited once more $50, and I started playing micro games Limit Hold'em at the time, because Limit was still quite a popular game. Full ring Limit Hold'em, might have been even 10-handed, not sure, might have been 9 or 9-handed, not, but anyway, full ring micro stakes Limit Hold'em. had the charge next to me and playing very purely straightforward. But I said like I'm gonna deposit one more time and I gotta try to make something out of it, and I never looked back to any more since. So I started grinding at the micro stakes, slowly building up my bankroll and moving up in stakes and limit hold'em, all the way up to 2-4 limit hold'em, and then I switched to no limit hold'em, starting to play at 10, 25 cents blind games, so 25 NL basically, and moved my way up in the no limits stakes all the way up to 400 NL, 600 NL, so $3, $6 blinds, even some 5-10 no limit hold'em, and then that lasted for a long time. Like that was a slow process, of course. Like it's not that I was moving up in
Right.
stakes
This whole time, you also have a day job.
and I have a day job at the time, and had even like a secondary day job next to it, and I was playing soccer at the time, and for me there were at least 100 hours too less of I could use another 100 hours in a week probably, like to fill up my time. But it was also somewhere in 2005 that I had a soccer accident. I tore my ligaments, which it hurts a little bit in the beginning, but it's not like it can happen, of course, as a football player. But the advantage of that was that all of a sudden, for a couple of months, I couldn't do anything apart from playing poker. I had to sit at home. I couldn't work. I couldn't play football. And during that time, and it was in December, and so it was even bad weather outside anyway. I think it was winter time. The only thing I could do was sit inside and play poker, of course. And it was actually, like, if I look back at it, was actually a perfect timing for that accident to happen, because I learned, like, I could play so much poker, and I learned so much during that time. Like, it was a really big, my learning curve really improved a lot, of course, during that period. And I even once, of course, like I earned some money during that time as well. And then after that, when I could go back to work, I decided to drop out of my secondary job, because I think, okay, I want some money already, like playing poker. Maybe I should give it a little bit more focus, give it a little bit more of a try. Still gonna keep my main job just to have to pay for the bills as well. And I couldn't really play with soccer straight away as well. Like I was probably out for the better part of half a year, I think, because I didn't play anymore that season. I think I was out for like roughly 8 or 9 months. I could really put a lot of focus on my poker playing game, and it was really helpful for me. It was also at that time when live poker got a little bit introduced into Belgium as well. End of 2005 was the first time live poker tournament was organized in Belgium as well. So I went there as well. Got the feeling of playing live poker, and that's what really got the ball rolling. And the years passed by, and I kept like I say, moving up in like the months at least were passing by, and kept moving up in stakes, and slowly found tournament poker more interesting because of the kick of reaching a final table and winning a tournament was something still very unique for me. Winning a poker tournament gave me 100 times much of a fulfillment than winning a 200 big blind pot in no limit cash games.
Yeah, there's something nice about the trophy at the end and knowing that you did the best out of anybody.
Yeah, I always have been a very competitive player anyway. So cash games are also competitive, but there's less glory to it. Like I always,
nobody takes your picture at the end.
That's true indeed.
Speaking of tournaments, that's kind of, so the story goes, you take this job in casino marketing, and to get people in the door, you realize the best way to do it is with tournaments. And all of a sudden, the guy's like, well, if you want tournaments, you're going to have to run them, right?
Yeah, that was so so yeah, then we're arriving at 2008. At the end of, so Belgium had a rule back in the days, talking now 2005, 2008 era, that you could only organize one tournament every year. You could organize a tournament, but only one tournament every year, which of course is not a lot. But you can organize satellites towards the tournament. So what was happening in the casino, there were satellites to that one tournament the whole year, basically, as well, to the final that would take part in November, the Belgium Open Poker Championships, which was a huge tournament at the time. It was a 1,700 euro buy-in. It was capped at 800 players, and it would, and it was full of satellite players, and there was no re-entry at the time as well. Like it was, nobody would ever heard of the word re-entry. So it was, you had one shot, and that had to, you had one bullet, one chance. And I played a lot of live poker already back then, or a fair amount of live poker, especially in Holland, because there were a little bit more tournaments organized. And then for that one tournament every year, what's happening in Belgium, I said to my Dutch friends, like, I mean, I've been joining you guys here every time here in Holland. Now it's your time to cross the border and come to play at my tournament at least. And even that was before I started working in the casino. But the manager of the poker room at the time saw that I was actually bringing some people to that casino, and that's why he offered me the job actually. And so in 2008 I started working for the casino, and at the end of 2008 I'm writing my reports to like some sort of summary to my boss, saying that like we should actually try to organize more tournaments, despite the fact that like the law said we only organize one tournament. You were allowed to organize sitting goes up to 4 tables, which creates some sort of loophole in the system. So what we were doing was, let's say you want to have a tournament with 160 people, we would organize 4 separate sitting goes of 4 tables, let them all play down to one table, and then those 4 final tables would combine again to a new sitting go of 4 tables, and that would play down to a winner. And so, basically, you could still, it was
like a shootout.
It was some sort of shootout indeed, but you would never end up being like really like heads up or 3-handed or something at a table. Like you would always play in your own bubble, let's say, to keep it a little bit in with terms of which are used nowadays. So you would have your own 4 table, and that would play down to a single final table of 10, because of course we would still be playing 10-handed at the time. Which I wouldn't do anymore now. But therefore, you could even go. Basically, you could organize as many as possible. Like even for a 200-player tournament, you would say, okay, let's play down to the final 8 or something, and then combine again back to four tables of 10. So I mean, there were some loopholes to be found there anyway. So what I said to my boss, like at the end of 2008, was like, well, like I think we should organize more poker events, like festivals, because they're a great way to attract people to the casino, and it's good for marketing, because the room itself was very popular with cash games at the time. But of course, cash games doesn't get a lot of media attention and stuff. So, and it's easier to attract people to your poker and to your casino in general with poker tournaments. Like there's a
right.
So,
there's a date and a time you could advertise.
Yeah, and as well,
and then weird if you put it in a magazine. Come check out our 2-5 game at 10 p.m. or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So I wrote an email, and pretty much a couple of hours I got a reply back from my boss saying, "Sounds like a good idea, Kenny. Why don't you organize a festival next Easter?" That was in our casino, and you're responsible for it. I'm like, okay, that wasn't actually my initial idea of this email, but I'm like, sure, why not? And so in April 2009, I organized the Namur Poker Classics. A 1-week festival around Easter, with a 1K main event, like everything organized with with the maximum 4 tables. But it was, like I say, from organizing point of view, it had to do a little bit more organization, but it was still quite easy manageable.
Sounds like the job of a spreadsheet.
Yeah, a little bit indeed. And I
Now
also
we know
figured
why you're
out,
so good with Excel.
yeah, I'm a bit of an Excel nerd still. Like I put everything in Excel. And so I figured out I had to have a tournament director kind of for this series as well. I'm like, why actually don't I like why don't I assign myself the job as a tournament director? So I was the organizer, the tournament director. I was a bit of the everything for that whole series, and that's kind of where I started my career as organizing tournament. And then throughout the years, I organized more festivals in the casinos there in Belgium, and my job as a marketing manager transformed more of one into being a tournament director and tournament organizer. And that's where my career started as a tournament director, basically already back then. So I never, despite I mean many other people that are a tournament director nowadays have usually made started their career as a dealer or even as a chip runner or some like started their way more at a different part in the poker industry, and then slowly worked their way up to as a floor manager, and then later eventually to a tournament director, where I straight away jumped into a role as a tournament director. So I took a little bit of a different career path there,
Well,
which
it's worked out. I mean, they
it
had you working EPT events for and Stars events, and obviously
yeah
Unibet.
yeah indeed. Later on, think what I would say early in the 2010s, online poker got regulated in Belgium, and every online operator had to work together with a live operator. So PokerStars at the time decided to work together with the Casino of Namur, which I was working for. So then we actually set up the PokerStars tour in Belgium. The Belgian, no, what was the name? The Belgian Poker Challenge, that was, yeah. We set up, there was so many name changes as well. I think the first two was I'm not 100% sure anymore, but I think the Belgian Poker Challenge. It was the name of the tour we had in Belgium together with PokerStars. And PokerStars asked me to be the TD of that tour because of my experience, like a little bit with the casinos of Namur and Spa, which were the two casinos I was working for in Belgium. And so I became a tournament director of there. I also worked as a floor on some EPTs, worked on the France Poker series as well, like being a TD for some of their events, like in Morocco. There was one even. And that got kind of my that created like quite a nice role for me in the poker industry. But next to that, I was still playing a lot of poker. Like I say, I started the job in 2008 as a floor person, but I was working a lot as a sorry, I was playing a lot as well as a player back then, because not having I gave up my job as an electrician, and I had way more freedom in my job. So, and for me to do the marketing for the poker room, like a good thing for me to do was also like to go to other poker tournaments basically as well. So I spent a lot of time traveling to other poker tournaments, and of course while I was there, I was playing them as well. And I kept him working on my game in the meantime as well, still playing a fair amount online, and slowly but steady, I was working my career in two ways, like as a poker player and as a tournament director. But I always kept my job as a tournament director. I found it very important for me at the time that I had still an income that would pay the bills, so that I wouldn't have any financial stress or feel any pressure to have to make an income from playing poker. Like my job as a TD and as a marketing manager for the casino, like I said, it paid the bills. And I had two separate bankrolls. I had like I say, my live bankroll, and then I had my poker bankroll. And those things were strictly separated for me. And I was always a bankroll net even as well as a poker player. But even if I would go broke with my poker bankroll, I would still have an income and I would still have money to have a normal living. So I had never any stress as a poker player, and that was also very beneficial to me at the time because even like I never had to make money playing poker, and that I think made it easier actually to make money, not having that pressure on me. So it
I mean,
was
that's
doing.
huge, right? I mean, there's some people who thrive with their back against the wall, and there are others who it seems like when they win, the winning continues because all of a sudden they have that comfort zone where the pressure's off.
Yeah,
I guess
indeed.
that's where you thrive.
Yeah, indeed, correct. Like, and even nowadays, like people say, like I'm in the zone at the moment, or I'm in the flow, like, and a people talk about winning streaks, and that's because they feel comfortable. And people talk about losing streaks, and that's because they feel uncomfortable. Like they're afraid of making correct decisions, even like at like they know like they're afraid of making like calls where they kind of know like if they put in a situation in a poker hand like they would be like if people have confidence like even though they would be like where they have to make like a tough call but like players that are at the moment in a winning streak playing with a lot of confidence will be able to make those calls and players that are like in a downswing and feel a lot of pressure on them like might be able to not make that tough call, even though like somewhere in the back of their mind they know they have to call this hand, but they're just afraid of making like this call and then be shown a winner or something, or they're afraid of making like a big bluff where they know actually they have to pull the trigger, but they're just afraid of doing it. It's mental. Yeah, mental game is such an important thing nowadays in poker. I mean, it has always been, but it's still a very important thing in poker. So I never really had that pressure feeling on me, and that's why slowly like throughout the years I built on my bankroll. Whenever I would win some amount, like I would put something away for like a rainy day, or I would invest it in my poker bankroll. I would cause like I would increase my poker bankroll. I would just do some fun stuff with it, like and yeah, slowly but steady, I kept building my way throughout. Yeah, in poker, and I mean going back to 2008, and 2008 was also for me the first year that I was able to visit the World Series, which was a dream coming true at the time. Having only seen the World Series on some footage on that I could download online and on YouTube there was some footage to be seen from my poker heroes back then of the Dole Brunsons and the Negrianos and the Fergusons, Seidels, Ivy. I mean, you name them.
Well,
They
that's one of the questions we ask is who is your poker hero coming up?
I wouldn't really have a specific hero. I would say there was.
Or was there somebody you wanted to play with more than anything? Somebody you dreamed of showing, getting heads up
Yeah.
with.
Not really. I was never really like a fanboy in that way, but I was just like I was admiring all those people like in general, I would say. But I never had a specific player that I was like really looking up to. Maybe if there was one guy, I would say Ivy. I think Ivy
Hmm.
might have been like the one guy which I would be looking up the most because at that time he had that like thing around him, which was like he is like the
He was the
best,
end
the
boss,
most,
yeah.
the end boss, the most fearless player, the guy that was, would dare to pull the trigger. Like he would be, I think he, like you said, like the end boss. Ivy was the end boss at the time, like around, like looking back 10 years ago, roughly, like Ivy was the end boss. Like I think it was like, I was looking up the most, I think, towards him.
Well, I want to talk about your success at the World Series of Poker, but first I have to bring up something that I saw in person. I was in Monte Carlo in 2010, one of the worst trips I ever took in my life. They lost my luggage. I ended up wearing an I Love Monte Carlo t-shirt for a couple days. Um, but I believe you had a worse trip.
Yeah, talking about worst trips and Monte Carlo
because
2010. Yeah.
because I mean I was covering this hand, and I
Oh,
think
were
it was
you?
like an
Okay.
outer table. It was the main event. It was deep. I want to say it was like the second to last day, and it was an outer table for some reason, and it had the two chip leaders on it, and
Well,
I
I
was
can
like,
tell you there was, I can tell you there were 37 left.
all right, you set it up because I guess you remember.
I do remember it. Uh, yeah, going back April 2000 or May must. Uh,
It's probably
eight.
April if it was the EPT Grand Final.
It was the EPT Grand Final, April 2010. Yes.
Yeah, it's usually April, but yeah, either way.
Yeah. Back in, well, Monte Carlo and me, we have a quite of a love-hate relationship, I'd say. Back in 2009, I'm playing my first EPT there. I managed to qualify online for it, and it was a 10 at the time a 10,000 euro buy-in, still the main event. So it was a very huge buy-in. Like the biggest buy-in I played at all time was 1,000 euro, and all of a sudden, like
Yeah.
now you
10x.
have. I'm like, okay, now I have to play with the big boys here in Monte Carlo. Like, but I qualified online, so like, of course, like I didn't invest the five the 5K or sorry the 10K myself, and it actually went quite well in 2009. I had a good day one, and day two I get drawn at the same table as Daniel Negreanu. So again, some sort of dream coming true already, because like your first EPT, and on day two you're seated right across the table from me, just like I'm looking straight at him, is Daniel
Yeah.
Negreanu, who
It's
was
not Phil Ivey, but it'll do.
it. I mean, if Phil Ivey was number one, then Negreanu was definitely a top five, maybe even top three, I would say at the time.
hmm
Uh, and he's sitting there just in front of me. I already have some chips, and we're a couple of hours into the day, and I managed to bust Negreanu actually. We got it in pre.
hmm
Uh, I have to say he was an 80% favorite, but I won. Like I hit my hands. Or I
Yeah,
hit my two out of there. I don't remember exactly what the cards were, but I do
you
remember I won it.
deserved it.
Yeah.
You deserved it.
Uh, and I win some other pots, and all of a sudden, before I realize, I'm actually chip leader. I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? Like first DPT chip leader halfway through day two. We were
hmm
still not quite in the money, which it was still only 10% being paid, and you would only reach the money like somewhere in day three. It was had a quite of a deep structure as well. But like not much happens throughout day two. I think I hover a little bit around my stack I had at the time as being a chip leader. Of course, other people become the chip leader, but I'm still like starting day three as with okay and having my eye on a 20,000 euro min cash, which of course was huge for me. Like
Yeah,
having
as a satellite
being
winner
a
for sure.
satellite qualifier, yeah, this was such a large amount of money, of course, for me. And I didn't sold anything or I didn't swap anything because yeah, stuff just wasn't like it wasn't common thing. Like it was, I don't know
You didn't
exactly
know
how much
anybody.
as well. Yeah, and I think it would have been 20 like a min cash. I might just have had 100% of all my action actually. Or maybe had like, I mean, maximum, maybe let's say 10% swapped or something like, I don't know, but it was a huge cash. However, somewhere in day three, I get in my aces spree versus pocket fours in a very big pot. Somebody shoved his pocket fours there. He happens to hit his four. Unfortunately, I'm left with 20 big blinds or something, three away from the money. And two hands later, I'm getting my jacks versus kings or something, and I'm out of the door. Like, not
Oof.
stone bubbling, but three of the money
That's a bubble. We'll give you
after
credit for the
still having
bubble.
like an average stack like 5 minutes before, or like more than an average stack 5 minutes before. So, which I promised myself, like I'm gonna play tight here, of course. Like I mean, of course, like
Yeah.
it is you're on the verge of making your first huge results. Like you're not gonna start spewing around there. Like, but of course, I knew at the time aces pre-flop is still an okay hand to go with. And
Yeah.
I mean, it happened, and I was very disappointed.
Well, at least you can say you cashed the next year.
Yeah, actually, I managed to win a side event and in 2009 there. So
Nice.
I had at least for 23,000. So I still could return. I mean, a little bit disappointed, but from not making a cash in the main event, but winning a side event was still a fairly good result.
Good
Of course,
trip.
it was a good trip. Of course, being a satellite qualifier. Yeah. Between that and the next year, I managed to play some more EPTs. I qualified a couple of times more. I think even I bought in for a couple. However, I never managed to get the main event cash. That would change in 2010. 2010, finally, I managed to cash in my first main event of an EPT. So yeah, I'm happy because that I'm getting the monkey off my back. First cash in a main event. And things go quite well as well once we enter the money. Like from what I can remember, like I didn't have too many chips going, like getting to the money. But once in the money, like I managed to knock out a couple of people, and I don't know, I have my hand on mob actually open at the time. So there were 128 people paid. Like if I look at the numbers, then it was 15% paid, but there were 848 entries, which were unique entries at the time, of course, as well, because re-entry.
Yeah, of course.
Was
back in the day.
Back in the day. And 1.7 million euros up top. And we're down to the last 37 players, and I'm sitting there as, I think, second or third in chips. And
I remember your table had all the chips at it.
And the chip leader was even at the table. So pretty much all the chips were at the table. And all of a sudden, I'm getting dealt aces. Like, oh aces. Aces in Monte Carlo. Hi there. And I quite remember the hand quite good. I open early position, mid position 3 bets. The cutoff or the button called 4 bets. And I'm sitting there with aces. I'm like, oh, happy days. It gets folded around to me again. And I decided to either 5-bet shove or 5-bet click it back. Not sure. Anyway, the guy between us, thanks for like an eternity, decides to fold. The initial 4-better, he either 6-bet shoves all in or calls it off versus my shove. I obviously, like, we get it all in pre. The guy that fold, like, he had kings. My other guy, I had aces. And the guy that was sitting between us had ace king. Like, he still had his cards kept to the side, and he showed that he had.
That's what it was. It was the fact that somebody claimed they'd killed one of the kings. That's right.
So there was a king out, and you played this massive 5 times average pot, and turn was a king. And of course, I was really, really gutted because I'm literally getting one out of there for a pot worth. I mean,
I remember thinking this guy can go to the bathroom for the next 2 days and still make the final table now.
The pot was roughly worth, I think, I calculated afterwards, like, it should not have done it, but it was like 400k worth or something, that pot.
Brutal.
And yeah, so basically, like, it's part of a nice house, basically, that just like burns up in flames just in front of you. That's how it felt. I mean, yeah, that's quite how it felt at the time.
So how do you react? Do you?
And then, so this massive pot goes, not my way. There was only the eventual winner of the tournament, Nicholas Chudi. It wasn't against him, that pot, but he was the only guy that ended up having more chips in that whole tournament than the size of that pot. Actually, that's how insanely big that pot was. Because he happened to have all the chips at the final.
With 37 left?
With 37 left. We had it was like more than 5 times average board pot. So like it was in a very, very huge pot.
I remember riding that hand up. I really do. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
and I was quite upset, and I jumped out of my chair, threw my sunglasses like through the other side of the room, literally. That is exactly what happened. Like stormed outside, thinking actually I was eliminated anyway. They happened to count the chips because it was such a huge spot as well. It ended up being actually very close between me and the other guy, but he still had me covered. And then like 5 minutes later, somebody told me like I think it was Frank actually that came outside and told me the news from like, yeah, sorry, Kenny, but yeah, they counted the chips and you, Dr. Wood, who used to be a reporter for Poker News.
Yeah. Good old Frank with the
Yeah,
harsh truth.
and he came to tell me like, yeah, Kenny, like they counted and you're unfortunately eliminated, and then I was so upset with that. But that pot was, looking back at my whole career, probably a very important pot where I learned a lot from. I gained a lot of experience from that one single pot. Like I could afterwards, everything like it was much more easier for me to place a bad beat after that pot. Like it was a pot that gave me a lot of mental strength actually in a way because it like
Well, you know it can't get worse.
it couldn't get worse. No, it's true. Like it was like okay, like it's poker. Like it happens. Like you win some, you lose some, and sometimes you don't. I mean, I can't blame the guy with his kings to get it in. It just happens, and then it's just I mean, there's a factor of luck involved in poker, and that's just where luck was not on my side, unfortunately, because the king came. But like it gave me a lot of mental strength actually, where I could see a similar thing happening to other people and working actually quite the opposite, and just putting people in a depression. But for me, like it turned out I think something to be in a good way, and like I say, I learned a lot from it, and after that, I kept playing poker, of course, and whenever I would have a bad beat or like I would give somebody a bad beat, I would always be like a lot of the times thinking about that one hand over there, and
Anytime you get lucky, this is for that. This is justice for the kid.
it's sort of like it felt like a little bit in that way. Like okay, like I mean, you're gonna complain with your bad beat, like I mean, I've encountered worse, or like, okay, like, or I had a bad beat. I'm like, okay, yeah, it happens a bad beat, Kenny, because you have seen this before. Like, you had to receive bad beats, like, and it just that part was, I think, very, very important for me, moving forward with my poker career, and like I said, and even then, because the guy that won the pot ended up being tenth only, like he kept, I think he was a little bit unfortunate as well.
Oh, I just
in
found
his
it.
way,
I
it
just
was
found the hand.
at
Matt
Parents,
Parents.
nice guy
Wow.
who lives in London. Um,
Wow, that's crazy.
and like for me, it was like a guarantee. Like said something as well. Like I mean, even though you lost the pot, you weren't guaranteed to win the tournament. Like you wouldn't even get to like the top 5 and be guaranteed 400k. Like you still could have ended up final table bubbling this tournament. Like it's all quite relative still.
That is crazy. He went on to finish 10th. And
Yeah.
that's the lesson.
Yeah.
I like how you're able to find the silver linings in all this stuff.
Yeah, but
Well, we don't have time to get into your entire tournament accomplishments, but obviously we have to talk about the World Series of Poker main event. Are there any silver linings in a 6th place finish?
wow, finishing 6th at the time felt. I was a bit disappointed because I went into the final table as 4th stack, or 5th. Wasn't it 4th or 5th going into the final table?
It was. You guys are like basically tied, I think.
Tied for 4th or something. So my expectations were not to finish in 6th at least. Like you hope to at least finish 4th. Let's put it in that way. So finishing 6th was a bit of a disappointment at the time as well. But I mean, looking back at the whole thing, finishing 6th in a poker tournament out of 8,000 or almost 7,000 odd players at the time, and winning over $1.4 million is not really worth something to complain for, because it is still, we're talking about still like an insane amount of money there. So no, having had the experience was very unique, and this will always remain for me the best experience of my life. I don't think anything will be able to beat it. My goal still in poker is to win like a big major tournament, because that's still something that's missing on my resume. But I think even winning a bracelet won't beat making the final table of the main event. Like it's such a unique experience that I encountered there, and like there's so many major tournaments going on anyway that it's like you can't remember who's won something and who doesn't, but in some way people still like remember that you made the final table of the main event. That's where you always will be referred to, I think, anyway.
For
Like
sure.
like even if you win a bracelet winner, like people will still prefer, or like will still like call you a main event final table. That's not necessarily a main event bracelet winner. At least that's kind of my experience that I have with how this is mentioned nowadays anyway, like with people that are in a similar situation. So, but it's still like would like to win one day like a major tournament, of course. But it's no, the experience itself it's unbelievable. And the main event, like the first time I played the main event back in 2008, I always had something like, okay, like this is the tournament. Like I never want to miss out this tournament again. I played it every year since 2008, and I will still continue to play it every year, or I mean every time, because maybe I probably might not be able to play it this year, but every time that it is possible, I will be able to. I want to play the World Series main event. I don't want to. I don't want to miss out on this. This great event. And I already came close in 2005, becoming, I think, finishing 123rd in the main event back then. Eliminated by Joe McKeon, the later winner. And it felt like a unique situation at the time, where I like might have missed just like a unique opportunity, because there's a lot of good poker players that are way better than me, that probably have never managed to finish in the top 300 in the main event ever, despite playing it every year.
Right.
And I already managed to get 123rd in 2005, and I got knocked out, and I felt disappointed there as well, because it was like, this might have been like my one opportunity to get a deep run in the main event. And I wouldn't say I screwed it up, because it was just let's say poker happened at the time, and I got eliminated. And then all of a sudden, like I get like a second chance in 2006, and like I'm lucky, like I'm fortunate that year to make it, because it's still, like I say, 8,000 players sitting down, and there's 9 chairs at the final table, so eventually 9 people will be basically randomly selected. It's still a lottery the moment you sit down, or to see who will reach the final table. Like it is a lottery still, like, and I just happened to be one of the chosen ones there that was fortunate enough to make a run. Of course, you will have to play some good poker usually along the way to get there, but still, there's so many good poker players out there that you need to have your fair amount of luck to reach it. And I just happened to, like my lottery ticket just happened to be drawn that year, and I made it there to the final table. So I'm still very fortunate to be in that situation.
You mentioned, you've always been responsible growing your bankroll on the side and had the day job. 1.4 million is a lot of money. Did you splurge on anything fun?
No, I just put a lot of the money on the side, and for later, like I didn't really need the money at the time, and I still continue to work as a tournament director even in 2006 and later years. It's only during the last couple of years that I put my job as a TD a little bit on a lower pace.
2016?
2016, yes. Sorry, I still kept working in 2016. It was actually weird, because I agreed to start working for Unibet in 2016. 2 days, I had a final meeting with somebody from Unibet 2 days before the start of the main event, or even the day before the start of the main event, before I made the final table. So then, like a couple of days after the main event, she sent me a message. She gave me a call, saying like, "Kenny, what are we doing now?" I said like, "Well, no, I promised to do the job. Like we hadn't
You're
signed any
still gonna
contract,
do it.
but I gave my word already. Like she was like the person I was talking to. She was in Vegas. Like I said, like we had our final meeting then just before, and I gave her my final word, and I said, no, like I'm a man of my word. Like I said I was gonna do the job, and I will do the job, and. Yeah, so yeah, I started working for the World Series, for Unibet back then, despite making the final table of the main event. But yeah, of course, like it gave me some even more financial freedom, of course, in 2016, and but I still had I
So
still
not
had a
even
lot of
a
yeah.
little upgrade at the car?
No, I moved to London. You don't need a car in London. Having a
That's
car in
true.
London is useless. Really. No, I still have my same car, which is nowadays already more than 10 years old. It's still in Belgium. It's yeah. I don't need a new car still. But no, and I still kept doing my job just because I wanted to still do something on the side. Because if you still do poker 24/7 or like play poker, only play poker, like you can get bored out of it. And just having something on the side for me was to have a change of pace is fine to do as well. And this doing something on the side, which I like to do, organizing things in an industry that I admire as well, of course, the poker industry. Like I always was somebody that likes to organize stuff, and being a tournament director was for me a combination of combining two things, like organizing stuff and doing something in poker, which has been my biggest passion for the better part of the last decade anyway. So yeah, I really found something that I yeah was for me a perfect combination, like doing some tournaments directing and then like to do something else for a couple of weeks, and then whenever I'm working as a tournament director, I'm already looking forward to play some cards again, and whenever I play cards for a long time, I'm looking forward again to my next job as running an event again. So yeah, it's life is good.
Life is good. All right, we have some rapid fire questions to close it out if you are ready.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, when you got to the United States for the first time, what was the most shocking thing you learned about Americans?
The gaps between bathroom stalls.
The gaps between bathroom stalls.
Yeah, like
Oh, you mean how they don't go straight, they don't go flush against the wall?
yeah,
It is
that's what I meant.
super
I'm like,
weird, isn't that?
it is
Especially at the
super weird.
Rio.
Yeah, like I found it so odd. I was like,
All right,
huh?
this is
Yeah.
something that only the men who've been to the Rio will know. But
I'm like,
all of the urinals have reflective tile.
I never it never came to my attention actually what you just mentioned, but like bathroom stalls, like yeah,
It's
having
just
like such
poorly
a small
designed.
doors, yeah, like it was something like shocking for me for the US, like and all of and all of
That's
the
funny.
fast food, of course, like yeah, so many fast food things, like
Oh yeah,
yeah,
fast food, yeah.
yeah, it was.
Well, what about Belgian stereotypes? Like when you tell people you are from Belgium, what do they say? Do they just mention Jean-Claude Van Damme or?
No, beer. So you must like beer. That's kind of what they say.
Oh yeah, I guess
And
that's a big one.
despite me being from Belgium, I'm not really a fan of beer. I'm more into wine and gin. Actually, that's more up my alley.
Wine.
Uh, yeah, that's people. Yeah, and we are known for fries, but everybody in America still refers to French fries. But they are Belgian. Trust me,
Right.
the best fries in the world you'll find in Belgium, and even in the Flemish, in the Dutch part of Belgium, because even in the French part, they're not as good as in the Flemish part,
What do you do? Like
unfortunately.
like a poutine or a gravy?
Just the fries itself, like the way we cook our fries, you have to cook them twice, not triple. Like triple cooked fries, it's overkill. Like people say, oh,
Mhm.
triple cooked fries, it's not something to be. Doesn't make them better, but I double fry them. Like once at a lower temperature to get them
What
soft on the
about
insides, and
what
once at
about
a
the
higher
cut?
temperature. Sorry, the
The cut. Are you a crinkle cut guy? Do you like
no
steak
straight
fries?
cuts, straight cuts. Not any
Okay.
not any wrinkles, not any special
Shoestring.
things. No, no, no. Just
Waffle.
not too thin, not too thick.
Curly.
Yeah. No fat and straight cut fries. That's just pure. And you can have them with some gravy, but like a poutine is Canadian. I don't mind a poutine though, but we have something similar though, like we have with beef stew, fries with beef stew. It's quite a popular. It's most popular
Oh,
dish actually.
now
But
that's something I could get into.
yeah, that's
All right.
yeah.
Can you
Okay.
talk
Yeah,
about your worst day as an electrician?
I have no idea. I mean,
You didn't have any bad days?
no,
You like
I
to
had
be
a
an
very
electrician?
nice. Yeah, I enjoyed the job, and I had a good job actually as well. I had a bit of quite of a relaxing job. Like I was maintenance. I did maintenance in a factory, so like when all the machines were running properly, I didn't have to do anything. I would say like it was working in a factory where we would construct plastic pipes for all sorts, like for housing, for yeah, for even for the streets. So it was quite warm always in the factory because like all these pipes get constructed at quite a high temperature, like between 180 and 200 degrees Celsius. That is, like the pipes were constructed. So along some of the core machines, like the temperature would be really warm. I would say the most annoying days was when there was some faults around those machines on sunny days, because then it could be like really warm. Or like if there were some like machines, yeah, like having a fault there. Those were like annoying days, I would say.
Yeah.
But say like I had like bad days as an electrician, though. I mean, sometimes you would get an electric shock because that just happens as an electrician. But I would say there was like necessarily bad days because it happens.
All right. Best swap or piece you've ever had of anybody?
Steven van Zedelhoff World WSOP Main Event 2018.
Very nice.
10% of 1.6 million. I don't know exactly how much it was, but oh, I need to. W Coupe 17, tab 17 it was. I don't know exactly for, or was it? Hold on. Must be quickly to over 1.6 million. Yeah, I had
Your
I had
Googling
10%.
skills are very good.
Yeah, he had 1.6, and I had 10% of that. So yeah, that was my best payday as a swap. I mean, my
Shout
worst.
out to Steven, who's still
Yeah,
looking like a Viking.
yeah. I mean, my worst swap in a way was, of course, the World Series main event. I had how much it was? I think roughly one third. I think I had out in swaps. One
Oh,
third.
brutal.
Yes and no. I mean, I would like to pay 500K every week out in swaps because it means I will have earned a lot of money. And swaps are there just to reduce variance. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like
you
during
don't want if you're on the good end of swaps, it means you're the worst player.
yeah, true as well. But like swaps are like they're good to receive as well because. But the thing is, if you probably only received swaps in your life, it probably means you had like during a certain period. They're nice as well because you do recover some money, but it probably means you've lost over the run, or like over the course of that period because swaps like if you're not paying out swaps, it means you didn't have any good results. So yeah, swaps are a good like they do keep you alive at sometimes, and if you're the guy paying out swaps, it's never a bad thing. Trust me. Um,
Do you have a celebrity doppelganger?
Not that I know. No, never thought about.
Nobody's ever told you you look like anybody?
No, no. Not that maybe you have some ideas, but I won't.
No, but we could put that out there in the world. Get out to Kenny on his Twitter and tell him who he looks like. We'll see
Yeah,
if anybody can come up with anything. Are you
I-
superstitious?
not at all. Completely not. Zero superstition. Yeah, no, nothing,
There's nothing.
nothing. No, whatever happens, happens, and yeah, no.
You don't keep the same shirt on 2 days in a row if you're running good.
During lockdown, I keep my shirt on longer than 2 days. I can guarantee you that.
But it doesn't have
Uh,
anything to do with superstitions.
it doesn't have anything to do with superstition. No, I haven't shaved. Like I shaved myself once. I did off all my hair at the start of lockdown. My hair was extremely long, so I asked my
Mhm.
girlfriend to like shave my hair, I shaved my beard, and that was in March. And for the last 2 months, I haven't shaved it. And yeah, no. And then during lockdown, you're sitting inside, like,
Yeah.
like, for who should I like dress up? Like for nobody, right?
You
So
can't get to the barber anyway.
yeah.
What's the most entertaining thing you've watched, read, or listened to since lockdown?
Most entertaining thing. I didn't start watching anything new, I think, or did I? Some series? Because I've been playing so much poker, to be
Yeah,
fair.
there's no time.
There was no time. I watched a Belgian series, Cordon, with my girlfriend. I rewatched it. It wasn't anything new, but which has actually a lot of similarities with this whole coronavirus. It's about a pandemic actually that breaks out in a Belgian
Ah,
city, and they go in like a more severe lockdown. Like they lock really a part of the city, and there's lots of stuff happening within the cordon, within the lockdown zone. It has been even broadcasted on BBC, and it's actually if people that are good with founding series online, they might be able to find it actually with the English subtitles. It's actually quite a good series.
what's
And
the name of it again?
Cordon, Cordon.
Okay.
It's a nice series, and it had a lot of because my girlfriend was like a little bit like hesitant to watch
Yeah, I
like
wouldn't
after a
want to
while
watch
she got
that
a
during
little
a
bit
pandemic.
scared even like because it was during the early stages of the pandemic. But I haven't watched really anything new. We
Well, there's that movie, Contagion, and they were saying that it was like the number one rented movie in America once the
yeah.
pandemic happened. And I was like, who are these? They just want to watch what's happening? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, people they look for stuff related to this. I guess, yeah, it's just I don't know, but I haven't watched anything new. What I actually want to watch new is Homeland. Um,
Oh, okay. Getting
my
into that one.
girlfriend never watched Homeland as well, so she started watching it now, and I will pick up then when it gets to the point where I haven't watched it as well. So I know there's 7 seasons out of Homeland, or even 8. And I think I watched the first 5 seasons of it. So I'm looking forward, let's
Oh,
say,
she's got to catch up.
to watch Homeland in the near future. But for the rest, yeah, like I said, like I want to take like a break as well soon because I've been playing on like I went to South America to the Party Poker live event, the Party Poker Millions in Uruguay, and that was half of February already. That's 3.5 months behind us already, and that's the last. Yeah, that's been my last trip. Like I stayed around in Uruguay and Argentina for a little bit there, but then I got back home at the end of February already, and I haven't been like further than literally like 3 miles away from my home since then. Like for more than 3 months now. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to travel a little bit maybe again in the future, even maybe just to Belgium to visit to see family again because I haven't seen them in even this year. So that's like already like half a year already has gone without me haven't have seen any of my family. The only person I've talked to in real life for the last 3 months. It has been my girlfriend pretty much where I had like a regular I mean apart from the cashier at the store basically that's yeah the only people I've had a conversation to face. Of course I have been talking to people over Skype and with poker buddies like having had study sessions and stuff but it has been a lot of poker of course since then like for the last 3 months has been poker pretty much 24/7 I would say. And yeah, I'm looking forward to some downtown as well. Like it's like the last week right now. Like by the time this will be broadcasted, like the majority of the poker series, or like pretty much all the poker series, will be over. So I think I will be giving myself some free time as well.
Mental break. Uh, do you have a nemesis in poker, somebody that you just can't beat, somebody who's always held over you?
Niklas Astet, Lena 900 on stars. Like, Whenever I'm going to a flip versus him, like I can already close. Like if it's for all my chips, I can close the table. Which I mean, he's a very good player and I admire him a lot. But I can't just seem to win like a pot versus him. Like I mean, he's good because like in pots that I would say involve no luck, like he's always able to put me in some tough spots as well. But if we go pre-flop on like even if I'm like a 70-30 favorite, I always feel like he's hitting his cards. But he's an amazing player as well. Though. Like, but he seems to be like my nemesis a little bit as well. Like, but yeah. I mean, I'll keep trying though. One day I
Of
will beat.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the law of averages will eventually work in your favor.
Yeah, for sure.
Headphones on at the table? Yes or no?
No. The only time I watch headphones is when my favorite team is playing, and when I watch the stream on my phone, and then they have the commentary on. But I never listen to music at the table. It distracts me too much.
Favorite album or artist?
I don't have like a I really like Moby, but like it's like my favorite style of music is actually it's like hard techno and even some hardcore, which is a very specific style of music, which not a lot of people actually like because it's.
Well, I assume you've been to EDC.
I have been to EDC, but even like EDC is way too commercial of music for me. It sounds
Really?
yeah. Like I like to have it even more harder than the EDC style of music. Like yeah, like that's how like that's the style of music that I like. Which, like I say, like not a lot of people are a fan of because it's like industrial techno, hard little bit of hardcore. I do like as well. Like industrial techno is like yeah. It's like when you work in like a metal factory, basically, when a lot of people are referring to. When you like, there's
a lot of chainsaws and tools in the background.
Yeah, basically, that's what people refer to. But I mean, but then as a pure artist, like actually, like to have some relaxing music on, like sometimes when I'm like playing poker, like online, I would say I wouldn't mind sometimes having some Moby on, because if you have some industrial techno on, like your tree betting increases a lot, I have to say, because it's you get like that some sort of like boost on you. Like if
if you play in the car, you'll drive faster.
Yeah, it is. Like it has like an effect on you subconsciously, basically. But yeah.
What about a favorite movie?
I'm not a fan of movies. Like I rarely watch movies. Don't have any favorite movie, to be fair. Like there's not. Yeah.
What about a gambling movie?
Yeah, Rounders. I mean, yeah, Rounders. I would say.
Did Rounders hit big in Belgium?
Rounders was one of the first poker movies that I saw, and I've rewatched it. I think already a couple of times with my girlfriend amongst other, because I'm like, okay, if you want to watch a poker movie, like this is like a good one. It's yeah, it is a nice movie. But I know it. I don't know exactly when it got released. Like is it a movie? How old is it?
98, 99?
Yeah, I was about to say like early 2000, but if you say like late 90s even, yeah.
It didn't really catch on until it went to DVD, so.
Yeah.
Well, I guess VHS.
Might have been VHS indeed at that time. But yeah, no, it never, I don't think it, I wasn't following the movie scene back then. Like I only saw Rounders, I think, in 2005 or even myself. So yeah, I don't know even. Like I've never been too big of a movie fan. I'm more like watching series than movies, because in series you have time at least to get into the characters, and there's a way longer storyline to it. Whereas in a movie, the storyline is a little bit too short. I would say often, like the characters don't have time to develop themselves.
Yeah,
in a
for
way
sure.
as well. That's why I like more series, I think. Anyway.
Do you like telling people you're a poker player?
No, I know I'm not that type of people that's like that will tell, hey, I'm a poker player. But if people ask me what I do, I will tell, and I'm happy to talk about it. But yeah, like there's sometimes those people.
So
that
you
would
don't
say,
like lie to the guy giving you a ride to avoid conversation?
I'm definitely guilty of having done that in the past, but I won't. I'm not lying to them. I would say I work in the gaming industry.
Okay, a half truth.
What I would say I'm an event organizer, which is true as well as a tournament director.
That is true. Yeah, I guess you have a lot of hats you can play.
I can, but if like, but throughout the year, like especially when I've done it in the beginning, but nowadays like I'm not doing that. I'm happy to say like that I'm a poker player. For me there's no shame of telling that to people because in the end that's basically what I'm doing as well. But like I mean sometimes if you're like in an Uber, I could see that you would be like not willing to have this conversation and just say like I'm an event organizer or say like I work in the gaming industry. Like I would never lie to people, but I would always sometimes I could do it.
You wouldn't be like I was on TV for being at the final table of the World Series of Poker.
No, I wouldn't say that. But yes, sometimes they like it's like typically where like those people like who are like vegan, they would come to you like, "Hey, I'm vegan." Like, sorry, like, I don't care. Like some people like so like into like like no, sorry, I don't care.
Just put it on your name tag.
I'm not I'm not the guy that will be screaming around that he's a poker player, but I don't mind avoiding like if having a conversation with people around it if I feel like I want to have a conversation with them. Yeah.
We end the podcast the same way every time with a question from the random question generator.
Okay.
Here we go. What's the worst thing you ever did as a child, and what was your punishment?
Were
you a mischievous boy?
The worst thing I ever did as a child. What was your Jesus? Oh, I need to think about it.
The school never had to call your house?
Oh, multiple times. I wasn't the best. Like I had to stay in school like for multiple times. Like I was a bit of the bad guy in class usually.
What do you mean, like the class bully?
The guy that wouldn't like listen always would try to do something else that the teacher would say, basically.
Oh, okay. The class clown.
It's sort of like, or like I would sleep in class, or I would, like all those things. Like, I would quickly get bored in class as well. No, I had to write. I had to stay in school multiple times. Like, it was just me. I think I did. Not that I was an artist, but I did some graffiti, just a couple of times. But I always got away with it. Like nobody ever knew. But it was
I like that you clarified you weren't an artist.
Yeah.
Because if it looked good, it'd be fine, right?
Yeah, but it didn't. That's for sure. It was together with my cousin, who had like a little bit more.
Well,
or he was better at it, I would say, and I would just like try along with him. But I always got away with it at least. So, yeah.
Did you sign your name?
Yeah. Not my We just throw some like stupid stuff. Like I mean, not anything vulgar or anything, but like just do some. But always got away with it. Never got caught. So it was the good thing about it, I guess. So never got punished for it at least. And like I said, at the moment I can't think of anything bad. Like I don't think I ever and don't think I ever hurt anybody or let alone
No, just a
anybody.
little light graffiti. Never hurt anybody.
Yeah, that's like I never made any like severe did anything severe, I would say. As a kid or even as an adult.
Well, I hope not as an adult.
Like I would say
statute of limitations isn't up.
Like I wasn't. Yeah. Like I always try to look up the borders basically of what was allowed as a kid, but never did anything. Never crossed the line basically, I would say.
Kenny, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
That's it. That is the show. Thank you once again to Kenny. You can find him on both Twitter and Instagram at his online poker screen name. That's SpaceyFCB. You can also find us on Twitter at CardPlayerMedia and at poker_stories. Don't forget to subscribe, and those of you who leave us a rating and a review will get a free digital subscription to Card Player Magazine. Just let us know you did it by sending us an email to pokerstories@cardplayer.com. Remember, 5 stars and kind words, please. Until next episode, thanks for listening.